Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I should say good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on wherever you are. How are you all doing? I am so pleased and so honored to have you here. Let's just see who we have in the house. We have a special evening for you all tonight. I hope you're ready. I hope you're sat comfortable because this is going to be fantastic. So let's first of all start off by welcoming all of our Facebook family and our YouTube family. How are you all doing? As well, of course, as our members. So let's start off by finding out who do we have. If you can put a hi in the chat. Okay, so we see that we have Pastifa is in the house. How are you doing? And who else do we have? I'm not seeing the comments, but now I am. Yes. Okay. So just double check. Can you just put a tick in the box if you can see and hear me okay? That sounds good. Is that a yes? Okay, can see you. Can you hear me? Hi, Tony, Laura, how's it going? Okay, sounds good. Okay. Give me a thumbs up or a hi just to let me, yeah, all good. Fantastic, great, beautiful. So we are going to get straight in because we have so much to cover. But first of all, I just want to say thank you for taking time to be with us this evening. It is, as I said, a very special occasion for me. It's not very often that I have the opportunity to have none other than my spiritual mentor of 38 years joining us to share. And today we are going to be sharing a great topic, a very important topic, the way forward and the new era of spirituality. And those two themes are going to be key today because we're talking about the way forward, which is a book that Brother Ishmael wrote some almost 20 years ago, talking about a new way of living for this new era that we're living in. But the new era has only just started. So how did he know that things were going to change so dramatically? Well, we'll be talking about all of that. But I'd like to first of all start by welcoming those of you who are here for the very first time. And you might be wondering, what is it that we are doing here? Well, this is our weekly get together for those who are interested in our mind reset and our grow personal success thinking system. You see, the grow personal success thinking system is based on the concept as written in my book that there are 5 key areas that are critical to you giving attention to if you want to be successful in your life, whatever your definition of success might be. And so each month for 5 months, we focus on one of those themes. Those themes, for those of you who might be interested to know, consist of your mental and emotional state, your state of your business, your finance, your money, the state of your relationships, the state of your health, and of course, the state of the relationship in terms of spirituality. And so this really sits in with what we are focusing on and have been for this entire month. And when we talk about spirituality, it really is stemming from what are your belief systems? As opposed to what is your religion? Are you a person of faith? That kind of stuff. And so this is our special guest as we tie up on the month that has been all about spirituality. And if you've missed any of the previous sessions, then by all means, just click the link or visit our previous episodes because they're all on either the Facebook or YouTube. Now, I say they're all there, but I need to be corrected slightly in that each session consists of 2 parts. The first part is open to all of our guests on Facebook and on YouTube. And then part 2, which will happen around 9 o'clock, we go private, we go off air. It gives us the opportunity to dive real deep and ask questions in the comfort of knowing that it is just our special space for learning, sharing. And so if you'd like to join and become one of our members, then my team, someone will put a link in. It is paid membership, but it gives you so much access to knowledge and information. And it gives you the opportunity to ask questions, something that is very underestimated in our community and in our culture. I find that people tend not to want to ask questions, not realizing that a question, one question answered, can change your whole life and give you a paradigm shift. If you read my book, The GPS System, I talk about my first encounter with Brother Ishmael Tetteh some 38 years ago as a young, inquisitive young man. And we always laugh about it now, because how we connected was when I heard him speak, I just immediately almost forgot where I was and began to ask him question after question after question after question. And it was that tenacity that he saw, where I was in a room full of people, but I'd forgotten it was just me and him as far as I was concerned. And so he said, listen, young man, why don't you come and see me privately? We can have a further conversation. So I would encourage you to ask questions and to join us if you find it intriguing and illuminating. But I know, I'm sending out the invitation, but I also am mindful of the 80-20 rule, that only 20% of people, if that, will take action. And that's just usually the case. But the question is, will you be one of those 20%? Okay, so without any further ado, I think everyone is good. Are we sat comfortable? And are we ready? Are we ready to learn, to discover and open our minds to explore a different way of looking at things? If we are ready, well then let me invite to the platform none other than Brother Ishmael Tetteh. Brother Ishmael Tetteh, are you there? I think we have. Good evening, Brother Ishmael Tetteh. How are you doing?
Much better than wonderful. Thank you.
Wow, looking gracious as always. I knew you was going to bring that African flavor. So I knew I had to come correct. And as we say, I believe that I'm that guy who is linking the African ancient wisdom and knowledge. I'm the bridge that links people like you from Africa with this knowledge that we have, that has eluded us for decades. I'm that bridge to bring it to the West. And so I have my African attire, and then I got my little Western flavor. So good to see you. How you doing this evening?
Thank you.
Wow. We got so much to go through. And I just really want to, first of all, start off by saying it's always a privilege and an honor. And I am so grateful for the position that you have played in my life over the last 38 years. Definitely a light of inspiration, of possibilities, and what could be achieved in terms of integrity, commitment to a vision, regardless of the opposition and what you may see around you. And it has given me the strength, and I'm fired up today. And I'm so fired up because I remember last year when I was visiting you, when you were here in London, and I came and spoke, and I mentioned to you that I had just had a session with my late business mentor who had just given me a hard time. And I mentioned it to you, and you laughed, and you said, yes, it's a good job that he's giving you a hard time, because now there's two of us on your case, because you're not bringing the message out fast enough. And so I never forgot that. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna show both of you. I'm gonna get to work. So thank you so much for joining us. We have so much to get through today. We're going to talk about your book, The Way Forward, and we're going to talk about the new era of spirituality. But I want to just start off by saying something that you probably are not even, you may not even remember, but it's key to where we are today. I don't know if you remember, back in 2010, August to be precise, I visited Ghana for the first time, and I came with my very good Jamaican friend, Donald Stewart. Big shout out to you, Donald, if you're in the house. And he was there. He landed on African soil on his 50th birthday. I was so pleased. And he broke down in tears that he was able to connect with Mother Africa. During my stay there, you introduced me to a lady who wrote this book, Deborah Johnson. And you told me that, I don't know if you remember this, but this is the book that she had written, Your Deepest Intent. And you had suggested that this is a woman, she has the ability to, she's a seer, in effect. That's what I gleaned from you. And so I went, and obviously you suggested I say hi. So I said hi. We got talking, and she gave me a book, and she wrote in the book, and I'll just read a little bit about it, what she wrote when she gave it to me. She said, step unto your life. Your ministry is a blessing unto the world. Thank you for saying the sacred yes and being your deepest intent. That was dated the 22nd of August, 2010. Now I said, thank you, politely, but I didn't know what the hell she was talking about, if I'll be honest with you. And I came back to London, I read the book, and I thought it was an amazing book. But, and here's the bit that you don't know about, within 12 months of that visit, I found myself precisely on the 31st of July, 2011, which is almost exactly 10 years ago, to almost the day, I found myself standing in the Ethereum Mission UK, saying that very same yes to life that I didn't know what she was talking about just a few months previous.
Mm-hmm.
And from that sacred yes, a whole new journey began in my life. And it only dawned on me this morning in my meditation. I was like, wow, literally almost 10 years later to the day, the father of the house, the main man, I am in his company today. So I just want to say thank you for all the things that you're aware of and all the things that you're not even aware of. It's great. So I want to start off by asking the question, like Deborah Johnson, who's a seer, like Michael Beckwith, who's a seer, like Brother Ishmael, who wrote the book, The Way Forward, almost 20 years ago. But yet it's as if you wrote the book for 2021. How do you do that? How do people do that?
First of all, let me thank all of your cherished listeners, those participating with us, because it is their sacred yes that has made it possible for the universe to choose you and I as conduits to download the knowledge for the planet. When the message is a message of truth, it is ageless. It doesn't matter when you wrote it, it will always speak to every time, because the truth of nature does not change. It's the same law of gravity, the same law of the H2O. So you know that two particles of hydrogen and one particle of oxygen to form water molecule, the laws are the same. It's only that we have been so much asleep. The lie has been there for so long that truth now sounds strange. So when you share it, it's always like, wow, how can this be? And today I'm happy that many people are embracing that master book, The Way Forward. It is your way forward. It gives you the tools to advance in every area of your life. To free yourself from the limiting beliefs, link yourself to nature's truths that you can prove, not religious doctrine that they go over your head. So it's just that it's universal truth. Once it's a universal truth, it defies time.
Yes, but you say that, Brother Ishmael. I hear you. But you joined us recently as our special guest during our book study club, where we're actually studying the books of great teachers. And we happen to be studying your book. And you've seen how people were and still are dumbfounded by some of the things that you're teaching. Yes, you make it always sound so simple. I've always said that to you, bro, Ishmael. You make it sound so simple. And when people hear things, they say, oh, yeah, that's so simple. Why didn't I think about it? But the fact is, it is based on deep principles. You know, when we talk about, when you define pain and our relationship to pain, many people in our book study club have said that they've just never heard such teachings before.
Yes.
So what is plaguing us that this kind of message is not being shared, certainly across the UK at rapid speed? I mean, I feel very honored that you've given us the opportunity to share it here in the UK. And if anyone would like a copy of the Way Forward, just send us a message and my team will ship a copy out to you. You can put it in the chat or send a message to info@tonydada.com. But, Brother Ishmael, it's a state of an emergency across the world where this teaching is concerned. So I'm very serious when I'm saying, how comes people, certainly from our community, my community here in the UK, are just not being able to get this kind of access, as opposed to, you know, there's a Bible everywhere.
The book, The Way Forward, will be the Bible for the future. I'm promising you that it will be in every home because it is the message of nature, it's nature's spirituality. I recall in one of my trips to the US, I spoke in Seattle, I spoke in Seaside, San Diego, and then in New York in the same trip. And in both locations, first in Seaside, San Diego, a gentleman, elderly, got up and said, Brother Ishmael, this is not a workshop. And I was really shocked, thinking he was going to condemn the program. And he said, this is not a workshop, Brother Ishmael, this is a movement. This teaching is a movement. And we're all like, everybody was like, yes, yes, this is really novel. This is really what everybody must know. So when I flew 6 hours to New York, New Jersey, and shared the same workshop, an elderly lady, probably in her late 70s, got up and said, Dr. Tutu, maybe she couldn't know Tetteh, said, Dr. Tutu, this is not a teaching. This is not a workshop. Guess what she said? She added the same sentence. This is a movement.
Wow.
From Los Angeles, from California to New Jersey, New York, it's just about 6 hours flight. So it's just a long journey. Yet two people were speaking the same thing. And that is a prophecy of God. That's how you know that life has prophesied something.
Right.
And it shall not delay. It shall happen.
It certainly shall. And, you know, from the moment I got a copy of this book, you know, I've been on your case for probably the best part of a decade. Like, Brother Ishmael, we have to get this book into the UK. And so I'm so pleased that we've actually been able to do it now, because it is a state of an emergency. And I say that, you
Right.
know, I just happened to watch the news here in London yesterday, and they were talking about the climate globally and how we are, if not, we're at the brink of having climate changes that will be irreversible, meaning that the whole world is in danger. And the whole world is in danger because of those who are ignorant or selfish or just thinking about economics. And so this is why I say there is a sense of urgency. When you talk about this new era, truly it is upon us. And it's those of us who understand what is happening, it is imperative that we be strategic so that we can save our world. And I believe that your book and the movement can play a part of that change. What's your thoughts on that?
Certainly so. I believe you also know that probably by the end of October, a master book is coming out called The New Era of Spirituality. And I know you are the type person who can digest that book and break it down for everybody to understand. But in our quest to discover ourselves, we had a sabotage force called religion that gave us a sky god to worship. So it disconnected us from the purpose of nature. It put us at variance to nature, letting us think that there's a power outside of life that can make us dominate and manage life. Nature is one, and everything it has created, therefore, has its quality. And one of the drive of nature is to be omni. That means all powerful, all everything. So there's a human drive to be omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. Omnipresent, we are now using computers to be everywhere at the same time. Omnipotent, we want to feel our power over everything. And these are all right, but we also want to have power over life itself, which is impossible. So today, money values have taken over human values, and the human values have taken over spiritual values. And the individual has lost touch with nature and the reason for living, the reason for being here in the first place. That
Crazy.
we are lost. And lost means now we finding something external to fulfill our internal vacuum. And this is where the whole problem has started. And with the new era of spirituality, we want to win the world back to what it is. That's this thing you call nature. And nature doesn't mean mountain, forest, and valleys. Nature is you, right where you are to the ends of the infinite universe. The universal life, the universe as life is life on planet Earth through fire, water, earth, and air. These are our connections with life, but today we are divorced from ourselves. We are divorced from the very air we are breathing. We don't know that the air we are breathing is an aspect of the thing we call God. So we're looking for a power out there. And when we can't find that power, now we feel lonely. So it's like everybody must fend for himself. So money values, get as much money, and then you die and leave it all behind. Empty life now. So we are to win the world back to the new era of spirituality. And life is wonderful. It started by giving me the downloads to write the way forward and other books, so that when the time to announce the new era of spirituality happens, all the books and the tools will be there to usher us into practical experience of it.
Absolutely. 100%. You know, the crazy thing is, so on the news yesterday, this gentleman was saying that he said that if we don't, if the powers that be across the world who can and won't do and take the necessary actions. He said, COVID is nothing compared to what is on the way. And I thought, wow. And people don't get it. And it got me thinking that you have often told me things way down, way ahead of time. I remember you talking, us having a conversation around the turn of the century, and you talking about the rise of the feminine energy. And I'm like, what you talking about? And you telling me that there was a time coming where people would be paying more for knowledge and information than they would be for food. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But of course, by that time, I've learned that if you say something and I don't understand, don't say nothing, Tony. just take your time and try and meditate on it. And here we are today. And so similarly, in 2006, when you gave me copies of The Secret, the Law of Attraction, and asked me to begin to share it here in the UK, because then you were working, closely with Rhonda Byrne, its creator, who also saw your vision. And so the first time she heard you speak, she was forced to have to just open up her checkbook and write a check. The point I'm making is this: can we really wait for everybody to catch up? Because I don't think we can. When I started sharing those materials, The Secret, here in the UK in 2006, I remember people saying, this is crazy. What is this nonsense? Whatever. But within a few years, she'd grossed 60 million. Like, how about people it's not so crazy after all. So similarly, there may be people listening to what you're saying now, and they just don't get it. But my question is, can we afford? We can't wait. What can we do to accelerate enabling people to wake up to this new era?
You said it right. We are in a state of emergency. And if the powers that be would not act, let me tell you, individuals like you and I will act. We don't have to fear atomic bomb. I love that Bob Marley song that we have to, is it Redemption Song also?
Yes, Redemption Song.
Yes.
Have no fear of
atomic energy. Have no fear of government and authorities in power. I can tell you something is about to shift energetically in the human consciousness. You and I are making it happen. This meeting is part of the program. We are, by this meeting alone, releasing energy to the planet. And I'll encourage those who are studying with you, please stay on course with Tony and carry on, because you are participating in the spiritual coup where we overthrow the sky god and all of his stooges who have become people of power, so to say, because they don't know what power is.
Wow.
So very soon, you will hear people mentioning your name as holy angels or holy saints who are redeeming them. So it will soon happen. In the same way that once upon a time, through social media, a government was toppled. Many governments were toppled just through social media. The wave will catch on soon. I can feel it very near. Probably it will happen before I exit my body. And I'm waiting to see that day of self-elevation. So we are in a state of emergency, and the emergency is not going to happen with the powers that be doing something, but by us energetically shifting the energy, and then the truth will just catch up and they will have no choice but to be part of it.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, Brother Ishmael, because if you remember back in 2017, I spoke to you about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Do you remember? And for me, it was an awakening, because I was like, what is this thing called Ethereum? The only place I had ever heard Ethereum was 38 years ago when you told me that your organization was called the Ethereum Mission. The point I want to make is this, that in the 12 years or so that Bitcoin has been created and emerging, it has been interesting for me to observe, certainly since 2017, how the powers that be have said that it has no place in society. It is only for criminals and people doing illegal activities, that we should stay away from it, that it has no intrinsic value. It's not a store of value. And, just everything negative that could be said about Bitcoin has been said. Yet today, all of those banking institutions, governments, even the British government have now had to embrace Bitcoin as one of the fastest growing assets of the decade. And so I believe that I mentioned Bitcoin because it symbolizes exactly what you just said. That although there may be powers wanting to suppress this truth that you speak about, the time is coming, it will be unstoppable. So I know we have some guests here today who are really tuning in and wanting to learn. I wanted to start off by asking some really fundamental, basic questions, just so that we're all on the same page. Could you give us a definition of distinction between religion and spirituality? What is the difference?
Right. If I heard you well, there's been some static in the internet connection, but I believe what you were asking is the distinction between religion and spirituality. Am I right?
That's correct. That's the question.
You're right. Let me give a very simple illustration. Bible says God is love. Everybody has experienced love before. If you are more than 6 years old, you would have experienced love before. No two people can experience love the same way. How can somebody give you a God and say, this is what God is, and this is the only way you can experience it? That is religion. Religion gives you a deity and says, this is the only way to experience it. Spirituality shows you the way you can experience this love in your own way. So, and not if even you've been in love with two men, two women, two people in your life, you have not loved each of them in the same way. So how can somebody come and tell you this is God, and this is the only way to know God and to serve God and to experience God? It is
100,
not possible.
100%. What a simple, and this is what you do. You just break it down so simple. It makes perfect sense.
So religion tells you what to think. Spirituality enables you to think for yourself.
Wow.
Religion imprisons you. Spirituality opens you. Religion gives you a set of rules and dogmas to follow. Spirituality gives you the power to create your own rules and program for the expansion of your soul. And I can go on giving you thousands.
Wow. Wow. Well, then that would explain what you have just spoken about this new era that is dawning. Because, and I use Bitcoin again as an example, because I truly believe, I won't go into it now, but I had my own spiritual encounter where Bitcoin is concerned. And I believe it's an instrument of God, because most of the wars, most of the atrocities that occur across the globe have some root in money. Money is at the root usually, whether it's to finance wars or to steal the gold of other countries. Money is at the root of it. But Bitcoin, correct. Yes, but Bitcoin stops that. It empowers everyone who has a vision to be able to see what this cryptocurrency can achieve. It gives everyone that power of self-determination, and it cannot be stopped. There is no one individual that can be hanged or killed. You get where I'm coming from. And so in light of what you've just said, what this Bitcoin does, it empowers people to have their own autonomy where money is concerned, which is completely the opposite of, well, religion was trying to control, and you're saying spirituality frees you.
Mm-hmm.
And if Bitcoin frees you, you can understand why governments and central banks around the world would not like that. But they can't stop it. As you may have heard, I think within the last 2 months, El Salvador has become the first country on the planet to reject the US dollar as their reserve currency and adopt Bitcoin as their currency.
Oh, wonderful.
So that movement that you're talking about, I'm linking it to money because money is, as you've taught me, is a powerful force and energy. And so if we can harness this financial energy for good, it's going to destabilize so many powers and principalities that have had a control over the common man for centuries. Are you with me?
Perfectly. Money is the reason why we destroy our forests. Like I shared earlier, money values have taken over human values, and we believe we need so much money to be in power. But you know, if you are wicked and you get more money, money makes you more wicked. So money doesn't put you into the power. It only amplifies your nature. If you are kind, money makes you much more kind. So money is the reason why we destroy our forests, we pollute our waters, whatever we can invent to give us money, whether it is good for us or not, we don't care for so long as it will give us money.
And you know, it's interesting that
so anything that can wrestle money.
So carry on, please.
Anything that can wrestle money out of the hands of the powers that be will also be wrestling humanity out of its prison.
Absolutely. And you know, what I found phenomenal last year when I was seeing the similarity, like as I mentioned, between you and my business mentor, I found it intriguing. And I think I actually asked you and you gave me an answer that I hadn't forgotten and won't forget, because I was intrigued that how is it that I've been blessed to know a deeply devoted spiritual man for over 38 years. And then I'm equally blessed to meet a man who is devoted to business and entrepreneurship and is a billionaire. These are huge energies of power, but from complete, it would seem, the opposite spectrum. Yet I'm hearing the same things coming from you both. He also said, as you said, that money just amplifies. He said, if you're a jackass, more money just makes you more of a jackass.
Correct.
And it was in the conversation that I had with you that I think I found my calling, my vision and my mission and my purpose. And I'm going to paraphrase, but what you said, or what I gleaned from what you said, was that life had blessed me with these two energies, and my responsibility was to carve out a third way, a merging of the spirituality, bringing the spirituality together, but also bringing money as an energy and knowing how to fuse the two together so that we could do great work across the face of the earth. And I've never forgot that. And that is what I'm now have woken up to. Like, I know how we're going to do this.
So you will lead the world to ethical prosperity.
Absolutely. And you know, we just last week touched on this in our interview. I don't know if you recall, but back in 2016, I interviewed through your great introduction, Reverend Michael Beckwith. And he talked about, although I didn't understand it back then, he called it Business 3.0. And now I understand that the world is ready for this. With COVID-19 and post-COVID, this is the new era that you're talking about, that the world has changed and the world must change. And even the way we do business has to be redefined. It can't be about just making money, which Reverend Michael referred to as just business 1.0. Just make money. And as long as you're okay, forget everybody else. But business 2.0 is make money and make so much money that you're so rich. Then you start thinking about others as philanthropists. But he said, no, business 3.0 is when your very business only exists as the vehicle necessary in order for your vision to manifest into the lives of people. And that just got me inspired. So that's the work that we are going to do. And with you in Africa, I remember you saying once that the planet, the world will never be free until Africa.
The civilization of Africa is resurrected.
Absolutely. And what I've come to realize is that that will never happen until I'm here in the West. And I can only talk about in the West, that they respect the teachings of Mother Nature, Mother Africa. And this, I now understand, is why we have been divinely connected, so that I can serve as that bridge to bring this knowledge that you have shared from Ghana to the West. And we're ready for it now here in the UK. So tell us. The world is ready. The world is ready. And as you said, we have to play our part. So tell us, in your eyes, through your vision, what is this new era of spirituality? I know you've got the course, the information coming out in October, and we will definitely be sharing it. But for now, can you give our audience, a summary, a snippet of what is it?
Without going to the scientific laboratory with test tubes, everybody knows that without something in me called spirit, I cannot move a finger. But what is this spirit? We go through school, we learn so much, but no one gives us knowledge of this spirit. Instead, we just told to have some rules to follow for something called spirit in the sky to support us. New era of spirituality teaches that there is no sky god. Two, it teaches that life is. If you add anything to it, it is a lie. Life is.
All right, but can we just pause at number one first? Because that's a big ask, Brother Ishmael. You're actually saying, a lot of people are gonna have a hard time taking and digesting that concept that there's no sky god. I mean, think about people who all their life, all they've known is the Bible, and you're saying there's no sky god?
If the sky god exists, then it must exist as a unit of the universal God called nature. Whatever exists must exist in something bigger than itself. So if the sky god exists, then it is just a tiny thing in the true universal God. But the true universal God is nature itself. The life you are living is the life of the universe living itself through you.
Okay, all right, I hear you. So when you say nature,
by nature, I don't mean the mountains and the valleys and the rivers. Nature starts from right where you are, expanding through the elements that make life possible here, embracing the planetary, starry, galactic system to the ever-expanding universe.
Okay.
The wholeness of life is nature in expression.
So
you are a being of nature. You eat, breathe, live by, with, and as nature being.
So when you say nature, you're talking about the cosmos, the stars, the Milky Way, the galaxy, all of that is nature.
Correct.
And so would that explain why scientists and astrologers, with all of their learning and dedicating decades to discovery, have come to the conclusion that the universe is actually expanding rather than contracting?
And if the universe is expanding, that is why you are also expanding. Check your life. From childhood, you are seeking to be more. Everybody is seeking to be more in something and of something. And when you come to understand new era of spirituality, that drive within each one of us to be more is therefore a law. We call it the law of multiplicity. In the book New Era of Spirituality, it will come with the spiritual laws of nature as well. So when you come to understand these laws, like a lawyer in the courtroom, you can cite the laws to work for you.
Oh my days. Are you for real? Incredible. And that's what we need. So, because in effect, we are also just like the scientists, right? Meaning that no scientist who's worth his salt will come up with a theory and start promoting his theory until he has backed it with many, many, many experiments. And only when the theory and the experiments support one another will he then come out and proclaim a new discovery. And is that what we are supposed to do in this new era of spirituality? We may have a theory, but it's our responsibility to be curious like the scientists and test it in our lives from a practical point of view. And only when we've seen that law work time and time and time again, can we then, and should we then, declare to others, I found something.
Certainly so. With a new era of spirituality, you don't believe in an abstract God, you believe in a provable God. God that you can prove that this is God at work. So you get out of the guesswork, the trial and error type of living. And if we are told that God is life, what gives you life? The air you are breathing. But the air in itself alone cannot give you life without the fire, the sun. And that alone cannot give you life without the water. That alone cannot give you life without the earth. Now, when these four elements that are distinctly different from one another blend, they spell life. What else is God than the blend of these? So when you tell me God is life, now I have proof that God is life in the air that I breathe, in the water that I drink, in the sun that shines on me, and on the earth that provides me with food, the same soil giving me tomatoes and potatoes. Wow. Carl Jung said this. He said, if religion is based on salvation, the dominant or the chief emotion will be fear and trembling. If religion is based on wonder, the chief emotion will be gratitude. In the new era of spirituality, it's about wonder. It's about making your senses observe the wonderment of life and understand the spiritual dynamism behind what is appearing. If the lizard can regenerate its tail, is it possible for me to regenerate some organs in my body and so on? These are the deeper works we shall be talking about. So you get the proofs in nature. So nature teaches you itself as God. So there's no God and something. African theology teaches us that there's no God and something. That's why without the waters, we know our crops will not grow. So we respect the waters as an aspect of God. So we go to bless the rivers, the ocean, the lakes, the lagoons. And the powers that be told you that is fetish, they blinded you. That's why we know that the sun is an aspect of God. So when you see the African with a piece of cloth on his loins, facing the rising sun, he is evoking the rising of the spiritual light of God, of the universe within himself. We need to come into direct relationship with God, a mystical living like the Africans used to do. That's why we have sacred days for the farm, and we have sacred forests that we don't touch because we respect life, we respect the earth. And in my tradition, when a child is born, during the naming ceremony, the strongest adjuration states, come and respect life. You must respect your life and the life that is making your life possible. If we were doing this, we will not have money values overtaking our conscience, because we live in such a way that life works for the highest good of everybody, for the past, the present, and the future. We've missed out on this because we divorce from life thinking there is life in us and we have to take dominion over life. How do you take dominion over the thing that you are a part of? How can the wave take dominion over the ocean?
It don't make sense.
Humanity is
It don't make sense. I remember you saying once to me, it's just crazy when we talk about, that practice of blessing the waters. And you were like, so when we in Africa, we bless the rivers and the waters, and we're told that that's a bad practice. But yet, when the fishermen in the West go and fish and get the fish and then put it on our table, we pray over our food as Christians. Like, it don't make sense. And I can I can definitely attest to the fact that there is definitely a mystery in life that it does create a wonderment. And for me, I like to keep it real. And so in my book, I talk about our first meeting and some of the things that you were saying, and me thinking, this guy, like, well, is this guy for real? But I'm like, well, somehow in my head, I'm like, this don't make sense. But in my heart, somehow I'm like, well, you know what? Let me just stick around and see if I can prove this guy wrong, because some of the things he's saying is just so far-fetched. But here I am, 38 years later, because I began to see some things that just blew my mind. The wonderment began. I mean, look at what we've just started off with today. It's only through my meditation this morning that I had to go and look in my calendar to 10 years ago. And I'm like, that's crazy, because we know you've
That's
taught.
divine synchronicity.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. How can I try to deny that? I didn't know about it last month. And the day before, the day that I'm seeing you, I'm like, this is just crazy. Divine synchronicity. So that's why I'm like, I'm excited. And if that's the case, then let's go. Let's do this, because I'm right on time. You're right on time. And life is demonstrating and proving it to us that we're right on time. So let's do this.
Yes.
And for our community, our rich family, I'm just in awe, Brother Ishmael. It's truly wonderment. And this is what we want people to experience, right? For themselves, their own experience, their own wonderment. This is what New Era of Spirituality is about, right?
That's correct. With New Era of Spirituality, you see, when we missed out on spirituality as it should be, we got ourselves trapped in religion, and it set us against ourselves. For example, we have emotions of anger, hate, fear, and jealousies. They tell you it is evil. And we have emotions of love, peace, joy. They tell you it is good. So when you have anger, you want to overcome and conquer the anger. If you conquer the anger, you will end up having defeated part of yourselves. If anger is uniform and it is in everybody, even in a babe in the crib, then nature has some use for that emotion. If you don't know the use for that emotion, then you set it as waste. It's wrong. It's evil. So Bible will tell you the fruit of the spirit is peace, love, joy. And the fruit of the flesh is anger, jealousy, and so on. Who told you so? Tell Paul he's wrong. Negative
God.
emotions are as equally necessary as the positive emotions. Positive emotions can cause great evil as negative emotions. If for the love of my girlfriend, I stayed 8 hours with her and my patient died in the hospital, I have murdered the same way as with my anger, I shot 8 people.
Because, please carry on,
Everything in the new era of spirituality shows you the value of everything and how they are to be used for the acceleration of life. The weeds are to be turned into manure to grow the seeds. Without the weeds, you will have artificial fertilizer to poison your body. So life has planned everything. The new era opens your eyes horizontally and vertically to know the purpose and the plan of everything. There's no waste in nature.
So, Brother Ishmael, as you say that, what came to me is, what's come to my mind is, does that mean with this new era of spirituality, which is a new awareness, a new understanding, a new interpretation, does that mean that we can now go and even read religious books, but get the insights? Because what came to mind was the parable of the weeds, as you just spoke. That some just read it as opposed to understanding the spiritual insights in that passage.
Certainly so. When you awaken to the new era of spirituality, it will make religion become a bit more sensible, without it, religion is not sensible. The only way you can tell me God is omnipotent is because nature is the all power. Nature is all power. If you tell me God is omnipresent, yes, nature is everywhere present. If you tell me omniscient, true, nature is its own knowledge that we are constantly discovering. So it's everywhere knowledgeable. So you talk about, but in religion, you talk about omnipotent as God, and then there's a devil as another power fighting omnipotent. There's a contradiction. It doesn't make sense. Straight away, religion has defeated itself. When you come to new era of spirituality, there's no opposites fighting themselves. There's opposites complementing themselves. If you don't hate your states of littleness, mediocrity, lack, and limitation, you will not move away from it. So hatred is very good force.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing that thing again, Brother Ishmael. You're going into territories that I know it's going to bother some people. I remember when I first heard.
Oh, please. I keep quiet. Guide me now.
No,
I love you.
It's just the way it is.
I know.
You're saying, yes, you're saying that we need that opposing force as a necessary evil, per se, to enable us to bring out the qualities that we have.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard for some people.
Yes. I have a son. I don't know whether you've met him before. His name is Anthony Dada. He knows how to break it down for the world. I come out open and raw.
Well, I remember when you first said it to me, and then years later, I read a book and they gave the exact same analogy, but in a different way. And it went like this, that a plane needs the force of gravity
Correct. To fly.
to fly. And I thought of you, and I'm
What
like,
pulls it down is what it needs to fly.
and I thought of you, and I'm like, this guy, like, brother. So I get it. It's, these are truths, and it's just, well, it's definitely my purpose and calling and mission to be able to take some of the teachings, and I've been saying it for decades. I'm like, brother Ishmael, it's too, your body of work. I'm like, it's too much. It's just too much. I've been rolling with you for 38 years, and I haven't even read all your books. It's too much. But now I get it. Yeah, I needed that frustration of seeing you and seeing the knowledge to then be convicted and compelled to say, right, I'm going to take it upon myself to break it down. I'm not claiming the knowledge, that this is the man that has the knowledge, but, with the insights that I've gained in my own relationship with life and understanding what the challenges are for people, particularly of color, who've been disenfranchised and disconnected with Mother Africa. I know how to I'll find a way to break this stuff down, break the information, break the truth down so that people can get it and receive it and meditate on it and begin to transform their lives. And I must say, I don't know if you remember, but it was 2012, the summer of 2012, when I shared this vision with you that this is what I wanted to do. And that I could see that there would be some people that would gather with me, share the vision, and also want to be practitioners. And here I am, all these years later, and we have some of those practitioners right here on this call. So I want to just thank you for inspiring me to find my deeper, true self. And, in truth, everybody needs a brother Ishmael in their life. That's the truth. You were mentoring and coaching before I even knew what those words meant. And you were doing it selflessly. It's just been a noble, wonderful opportunity. No one can tell me that it's not possible because I've seen it. And so I'm striving to try to just emulate, even if it's some of what I've witnessed you do over these 38 years. So I'd like to close by, part one.
Before you close, let me also say that I am not the knowledge. I'm a student with all of you to the great universe that is teaching this through me. I'm just a conduit. And in fact, you have made it possible because your soul cry is just what has opened me to be the channel for the answers for you. There's a soul cry in your soul, spoken or unspoken. So the universe is channeling the wisdom, the knowledge through me for you. So I am grateful to you. Thank you.
Wow. Well, before we're going to say goodbye to our Facebook group and our YouTube group, and then we're going to go private for our members. And so once again, if you've loved what you heard and you want to go deeper and have the opportunity to ask Brother Ishmael a question directly, then you know what to do. Do the right thing. Be wise. Follow your heart. We're going to put the details of the link in the chat, and you just come and join us. And the reason why we have a monetary token gesture is, I'm going to say it, Brother Ishmael, because I know you don't really like to advertise these things, but I remember having a conversation with you back in 2005, 2006, and you were saying to me that in one of your trips to America, someone had offered you a retainer of $5,000. You might not remember, a month.
I know. Mm-hmm.
$5,000 a month retainer. for you to stick around and be their mentor. And you said, nah, you got work to do.
It will limit me.
I'll
be tied to the person and for the whole world. So,
and that was
I've
2000.
had that on 2 occasions,
right.
And I've turned them down.
Right. So I'm just saying that he will never say this to you, but I can say, because I was there, I'm around, and I've seen countless things. So if that was the fee that people were ready to pay in 2005, and we're now in 2021, how about you joining our membership for like 40 quid for the month, but you being able to have access right in to have a conversation with us as we go into part 2, but also access some of the material. As I said, just last month, we spent a whole 2 hours with Brother Ishmael, being able to get the insight into his book, The Way Forward, which you can access as a member. Hence the reason why I say, if you value, then you value, and we'll see you on the other side. It remains for me to say, before we say goodbye, what would be the parting message that you would like to give to the world that is tuning in right now through YouTube and Facebook?
There is a cry in your soul. Listen, that's all. Everybody has a deep quest. We refuse to listen to the question, and we don't question. We don't vocalize the questions we feel in us.
Yeah.
So we are becoming constipated. It's very sad that we are constipated with truth, but truth must express, else it chokes you. Good food goes into your abdomen, and if you don't digest it to express it, even the good food becomes your poison. Ask your questions. Question the question, and you will find the truth for yourself.
Wow. I've never heard it said that way, but it is so true. And I do not and have not understood until now why people have almost a fear to ask questions. And is this the reason why? Because they are constipated by the truth?
Because they don't ask the questions, that's why they are constipated. If they ask the truth is seeking to birth through them. But they are not willing to ask the questions. They are afraid. They have become religious prisoners. It's like, do you recall when maybe you were a child and you asked, who is the creator of God? And they told you, shut up. And since then, they are shut up. I give you the freedom to now ask, dare to ask. Religion gives you what to believe and tells you believe only this. So it stops you from asking questions. It stops you from thinking. Spirituality opens you to ask questions so you can think. So religion actually halts creativity. And that's why Africa is suffering.
Wow. And we're going to go into that in a moment, but it brings us full circle. As I said at the beginning of this evening, where I said, on my first encounter with you, what changed the dynamics? Because there was, I think, maybe 60, 80 people in the room. But here was this young, skinny, young kid asking questions, just as you said, asking questions to the point that I forgot that there was anyone else in the room. And so it just proves what you've just said, that the asking questions births and allows you to express that truth. And because of those questions, I've been blessed right up till this day. Thank you so much, Brother Ishmael. Thank you, Facebook family. I hope you have enjoyed this evening, as well as our YouTube people. I'm going to say thank you, Brother Ishmael. Hang tight, don't go anywhere. And we will see you all next week. Same time, same place. For now, it's me, Tony Dada, your soul brother, with Brother Ishmael, saying bye for now. Okay, so we're going to end this live stream right now.
And I will break for just 3 minutes. I want to change the location of the router